Hello, this is Dr. Hank Chambers. I'm a pediatric orthopedic surgeon at Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, California, in the United States. Um, Today I'm going to talk about something that's really very controversial, and that's whether we as physicians and clinicians should work with industry, whether that's the pharmaceutical industry or, in my field of orthopedic surgery, the instrument makers. My first disclosure is that I've worked with industry from the late 1980s till today. Once again, both pharmaceutical and within industry, and so I'm kind of understand what the ethical dilemmas are. And as I mentioned in my editorial, that this is kind of a miasma. You really don't know how to. It's not a clean place to be working. So what are the pros of working with industry? Well, there are a lot. If you think of the drugs, in order to get a drug to come to market, they have to test them on patients. And for those of us who take care of children, that's obviously a real ethical dilemma as well, that can you do a prospective randomized trial in a child with a disability with a new drug that you really don't know all the side effects, especially the long-term side effects. But the other pro is exactly what we're living through right now. This vaccination that is getting us a little bit back to normal came by working with physicians who helped design the studies, who helped recruit the patients, who looked at the data, and then injected it in their patients and to see how it works, and then we'll continue to monitor them. So industry, if the pharmaceutical industry is not a terrible pariah, we have to understand what we're doing when we work with them as clinicians. I feel that we bring they come to us because we bring our expertise, we bring our knowledge of the field. We help them design the studies to ask the right questions, to hopefully review the data, and really ethically look at all of this before it gets published or it gets sent to a agency, a regulatory agency, to approve a new drug or a new implant. And that's where the problem happens. And because we really don't see all the data, I've been guilty, or maybe not guilty, but I've been the author of papers in which I worked with industry, and the papers were not written by industry. I wrote many of the words that went into it, but the data that they gave me, I have to assume was correct. I had, even though it was supposedly the raw data, it was mostly tabulated for me already, and they of course helped with the statistics. That makes it difficult to determine if you're getting all the right data. And even though the data that I have seems good to me, and I write it, and we publish it, and maybe change people's minds on whether to use a new drug, then that's just something we just don't know. The other thing that has concerned me in my work with industry is that I've done several studies with the pharmaceutical industry, in which I have no idea what we did. A long study that lasted for months and even years. I never saw the data. It was never published. So I don't know if that means that they didn't get the results they wanted, or they got adverse reactions. And there's no way to get that. There's no way to know that data. Of course, now in the United States, everything has to be registered with the federal government, but it takes a lot of work to see if a new drug comes out, or a new injectable botulinum toxin. Did they do a study 6 years ago and they never published it? It's really hard to find that data. It's there, but it's really hard to decide if that's worthwhile. And then so the other thing that we, as clinicians, the drug companies are often looking for asking questions about things that we don't think are clinically necessary, but they're required by the regulatory agencies. And so our patients are asked questions, and we have to do parts of the studies that we just don't think if we designed them ourselves, we probably wouldn't have asked those same questions. when it comes down to presenting this data, they use people who are experts in the field and people that have high profiles, perhaps, to present the data at international meetings. Are we being used by industry? Maybe a little bit. We are, however, I think those of us who've had input into the design of the study and had seen the raw data and believe the studies, I don't feel terrible about it, but I know that there are critics who would say you've completely sold out to industry. And then that comes, there's the next issue of getting paid for working with industry. Now, I can honestly say, as an orthopedic surgeon, I don't make much extra money working with industry as if I just did orthopedic surgery. That's not true of everyone, I understand. But the other issue is for people who design implants, there could be a huge amount of royalties in the millions of dollars, and so there's some ethical dilemmas with that as well for the surgeon who designs these implants. Do you go to a meeting and all you do is sell your implant from the podium? And so that's the problem that we have also with those of us who are presenting at national meetings. I feel comfortable when I give that, but I totally understand our critics who are saying you're completely sold out. This is written by industry. You don't have all the data. All the things that I've just said does put our reputation and potentially questions our integrity. I feel that we need to be partners with industry. They give us money for some of our educational events. We know that that's also because it's part of marketing. They're a company, they're making money, they have shareholders. But if you look at what drugs have come to market and how that's changed the lives of our patients, particularly in this COVID era, you have to understand that pharmacy has a big impact on our lives and on our patients' lives. We just have to take everything with a grain of salt. We have to question everything. You should criticize me when I give a talk from industry and ask me how I know that what I just said is true. Did I get all the data? But do know that most of us who are doing this are doing it with the best intentions to advance our field. But once again, this is a real minefield or miasma that we're working through. And I look forward to any comments and hope that you'll challenge me at a meeting sometime. Have a great week. Take care.